I have known those which have walked in their sleep, who have died wholly in their beds. Macbeth. As with other natural phenomena, without obvious logical explanation, ancient cultures often attributed abnormal movements, behaviors, or experiences during sleep called parasomnias to supernatural forces. For example, sleepwalking was thought to be influenced by divine or otherworldly influences in Greek mythology, evidenced by the story of Endymius, a shepherd placed into an eternal trance-like sleep by Zeus. Although rather esoterically, the moon goddess Selene fell in love with him and visited him each night. Arabic folklore also makes reference of sleepwalking, though through the forces of the jinn, supernatural beings from Islamic or pre-Islamic tradition who could influence or possess certain beings or certain individuals during sleep, rather causing them to sleepwalk. During their possession-induced sleepwalk, especially associated with times where people interacted with the natural world or outside in an unseeing way, it was thought that jinn were toying with them. Meanwhile, Norse myths speak of the Nachtganger, or the night walker, an individual with a unique destiny who would walk as their soul journeyed outside their bodies. Given the night walker's significant spiritual role as a bridge between the physical and spiritual world, even glimpsing the night walker could be seen as a very profound omen.
Throughout these many stories, we can see a consistent, innately human tendency to understand sleep as a mysterious, otherworldly realm where the boundaries of the physical and metaphysical overlap in profound, unknowable ways. Sleepwalking in this model represents the most acute manifestation of a total merger with or succumbing to the spiritual world, allowing the sleepwalker a rare opportunity to glimpse beyond ordinary perception. Later in the 18th century, however, this purely supernatural nature of sleepwalking became increasingly challenged by physicians like Jean-Martin Charcot, who studied sleepwalking and night terrors, treating them as nervous system disorders rather than supernatural ones.
What do you think sleepwalking is?
When you're asleep and when you're unconscious and walking or doing movements.
Totally.
When in the middle of sleep, you walk.
Exactly.
I would define sleepwalking as like while you are asleep, you're not like consciously thinking about anything, you're doing any sort of physical movement by getting out of the bed. I would not say it's like moving around, rolling in your sleep, but I would say it's like going out, walking around and like exploring the house kind of thing.
Sure.
I think it's something people do while they're unconscious in their sleep, perhaps in a dream.
Okay.
What can you say just in general? What comes to mind when I say sleepwalking?
When you say sleepwalking, I think of like someone sort of like getting up in the middle of the night, like sort of like unconscious and just like maybe like doing like random activities that they would normally do during the day, but they have like no idea that they're doing it.
Sleepwalking, more informally known as somnambulism, is when you complete undesirable actions during sleep. When people sleepwalk, there are some common things that happen. People experience an incomplete arousal, where the person who is sleepwalking can move but is not conscious of their movement. In line with this idea, those who sleepwalk may or may not be able to remember what they were dreaming about, or what caused them to move in the first place. They may be slightly aware of their environment, but they do have impaired cognitive skills like decision-making, planning, and problem-solving. Sleepwalking usually happens spontaneously. For some people, it can be caused by things happening in their environment like loud sounds, but the primary cause is unknown and is a source of research in the neuroscience community. People do a lot of different things when they sleepwalk. Some things might be normal behaviors like getting dressed. These behaviors are usually harmless, but sometimes can become dangerous if they involve more dangerous components. For example, have you ever been cooking mindlessly and then accidentally burned yourself? For someone sleepwalking, if they tried to cook, this might be something that happens to them.
What do you think happens in the brain? I don't know if either of you study any sort of neuroscience or anything, but what do you think happens in the brain when you're sleepwalking?
I assume that what happens is that the motor areas in the brain are uninhibited.
Yes.
When they should be inhibited.
Awesome.
Oh, as a computer science student, probably like the neurons going off stuff, like it's probably like the same type of deal, just maybe you're just not conscious and like the neurons for consciousness aren't on.
How might you guess that sleepwalking works in the brain?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it too much, but I would say it's like when you're in those, I forget exactly if it's alpha or beta wave sleep, whatever, but you're in those brain waves of like sleep, but you're also like have some sort of like physical movements, maybe some parts of your brain, like your like movement and like, what's the motor cortex is like active or something, but maybe other parts of your brain are in those those sleep states. It's like you're sleeping, but you also have some sort of movement connections going on as well.
Let's get into what is happening in the brain when people sleepwalk. They experience sleepwalking during the first third of the night during something called NREM3 sleep. NREM stands for non-rapid eye movement, and NREM3 is the part of sleep where brain activity is usually most slow and synchronized. Additionally, people who sleepwalk might have less blood flow to the frontal and parietal lobes of their brains. These lobes are partially responsible for cognitive skills, so less blood flow might be a part of why sleepwalkers struggle with decision making. That being said, other parts of the brain essential for movement, like the motor cortex and visual cortex, are active during sleepwalking.
Science Direct defines sleepwalking as something that occurs when a person rises from bed and performs tasks normally done during full consciousness, but is completely asleep. But what does the word consciousness even mean? The idea of consciousness has been pondered by philosophers, psychologists, neuroscientists, and other ists over many years, resulting in various definitions of the word. In our everyday lives, we think of consciousness as any experience. With this conception of consciousness, we're unconscious when we are sleepwalking. In our everyday lives, we think of consciousness as any experience. With this conception of consciousness, we're unconscious when we are sleepwalking.
My name's Hugo. What's your name?
Leo.
Leo, excellent. Great to meet you. When someone's sleepwalking, like, do you think that their consciousness is there, or something else is going on? They're maybe unconscious.
Like, I think it's still them, but like it's like a different side of them in a way. Like, that's not fully them.
Interesting. So like when yeah,
it's like a side of them, but not like them.
Sort of like either like their shadow side, their unconscious side that's kind of like in control of them when they're walking.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's something people do while they're unconscious in their sleep, perhaps in a dream.
Okay, cool. Have you ever sleepwalked before?
Yeah, I sleptwalked once when I was like 9 years old, just one time.
Do you remember what it was like?
No, I don't remember, but I remember like waking up and my mom, because I sleptwalked outside actually, which was crazy.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So would you say, like, since you don't remember that, would you consider that conscious or unconscious?
Like, I think I feel that it was unconscious.
Okay, that's super cool. The prefrontal cortex is the region of the brain referred to as the decision maker, and it's not activated during sleepwalking. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for making choices and for self-awareness. As we know now, the motor cortex, visual cortex, and other parts of the brain that coordinate movement are active during sleepwalking. It is almost as if the sleepwalking body is like a robot whose arms and legs are programmed to move without the robot making the deliberate decision to do so itself. When I think of robots nowadays, I think of artificial intelligence. A big point of debate around AI today is whether AI systems could ever achieve consciousness. AI processes data and performs complex tasks without self-awareness or consciousness, similar to how the body performs complex tasks while sleepwalking. But could these systems ever develop self-awareness? As a result of the many views on consciousness, there are many takes on this question. Functionalists think that AI could gain consciousness because consciousness in humans arises from specific computational processes, meaning that if AI replicates these processes accurately, it could theoretically become conscious. On the other hand, biological naturalists think that consciousness is inherently tied to biological structures. So since AI is not a biological structure, it would never truly be conscious. Nobody really knows what constitutes consciousness, but it is an interesting thing to think about when considering sleepwalking. Humans are capable of conscious action, but also unconscious actions like sleepwalking. So if AI is currently only capable of unconscious action, what would need to change in order for it to be capable of conscious action? What do you think, Mr. Penguin?
Sleepwalking is often portrayed as a quirky habit or even a humorous event, but this condition carries a lot of misconceptions. Let's dispel some of the myths and uncover what sleepwalking really involves. Firstly, the first misconception is that sleepwalking has no daytime consequences. Sleepwalking isn't just a nighttime phenomenon. Sleepwalkers often experience significant daytime sleepiness and reduced alertness. These findings suggest that sleepwalking impacts daily functioning. The second misconception to dispel is that sleepwalking is characterized by episodic amnesia or forgetting that you were sleepwalking. Sleepwalking diagnosis has traditionally relied on the assumption of complete amnesia during episodes. However, studies show that many adult sleepwalkers recall parts of their episodes, including specific actions, emotions, and even environmental details, suggesting that memory retention during sleepwalking is more common than previously believed. Thirdly, sleepwalkers do not dream while sleepwalking. Contrary to past beliefs, sleepwalking isn't simply mindless movements. Studies reveal that sleepwalkers often experience dreamlike thoughts during episodes. This mental activity not only accompanies, but may even shape their actions, suggesting that sleepwalking could involve acting out these vivid, often urgent mentations while partially aware of physical surroundings.
Like, who do you think would be more likely to sleepwalk, I guess?
I think younger kids. I think most of my friends, when they did it, were younger, and then they stopped doing it after.
That's cool.
Number 4, sleepwalking is rare in adults. Studies show that 11% of 8-year-olds sleepwalk, but 25% of these 8-year-olds, when they grow up, continue to sleepwalk.
And do you think sleepwalking could be potentially dangerous?
Yes.
And why do you think that?
Because I feel like you don't really have that much control over your body. So I don't know, let's say if you were to go outside and onto the street or something, that could lead to a dangerous situation.
Now, it's important to understand if sleepwalking is dangerous. Sleepwalking is more than simply moving around while sleeping. It's a potentially dangerous condition that poses both physical and respiratory risks. During sleepwalking episodes, individuals may wander into unsafe situations, heading outdoors, falling downstairs, or even attempting to drive, all while in an altered state of consciousness. These behaviors often lead to injuries as sleepwalkers are unaware of their surroundings and may impulsively act without a sense of danger. There's another often overlooked risk: breathing complications. Studies show that sleepwalking episodes can coincide with respiratory irregularities such as pausing in breathing, shallow breaths, or airway obstruction, similar to symptoms of sleep apnea. These breathing disruptions reduce oxygen levels and place stress on the cardiovascular system. For sleepwalkers, this combination of potential injuries from wandering and respiratory strain poses a serious threat to both short-term and long-term health, impacting their sleep quality, daytime functioning, and overall well-being. It's essential to recognize sleepwalking as a complex, hazardous condition requiring medical attention. So, with the many dangers of sleepwalking, it's important to understand how sleepwalking itself can be prevented. Sleepwalking prevention strategies go beyond simple safety procedures, focusing instead on medical and psychological interventions that address the root causes. For sleepwalkers experiencing respiratory issues, CPAP therapy is a game changer. Sleepwalking is sometimes linked to breathing problems like sleep apnea, where airflow is intermittently blocked, and CPAP machines can help overcome this nighttime disturbance, reducing the likelihood of sleepwalking. This not only improves sleep quality, but can significantly reduce or eliminate sleepwalking episodes. In severe cases, surgery to correct structural airway issues has also proven effective in reducing sleepwalking by ensuring consistent breathing patterns during sleep. On the psychological front, therapy plays a critical role for many sleepwalkers. Research shows that psychotherapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, can address stress, anxiety, and unresolved emotional conflicts that may trigger sleepwalking. These techniques, like relaxation training, stress management, and identifying emotional triggers, help individuals gain control over their psychological factors contributing to their episodes. By tackling these underlying issues, therapy provides a long-term solution, reducing sleepwalking frequency and improving mental well-being.